Thanks a lot, Paul. It's been amazing. Really great audience, I would say. I'm Vijay. I'm one of the founding members at Atomicwork. Previously, I co-founded Freshworks. We listed in the Nasdaq 2021. Previously, I was part of Zoho. So we're coming from on-prem experience to cloud, and then now it's AI. So the transition has been amazing. At Atomicwork, just to give you a short introduction, everyone, the focus is employee growth and unlocking employees' productivity or improving employee productivity. And the most easiest way we identified was through service management. And today, I'll paint a very simple picture. I don't know if this is what you see inside your organization. Let me just bring this Zoom window here, and I would love to show you. And this is, I would say, everything that an enterprise goes through. A very fragmented experience inside the organization, which is users inside the org have multiple tools or multiple applications or multiple knowledge repositories to go through in terms of getting their work done. I know everybody would have felt it or experienced it. You're doing your day-to-day work, you get disrupted by some technology breakage, some service breakage, and then your productivity is gone for a toss. What do you have to do? You go to the IT portal and you have to log a ticket to say, hey, my laptop is not working. I'm not getting access to this tool. And your whole productivity is gone. IT would say, no, this is not what you're going to do. You don't send us an email. You don't walk in and reach us. Go to this portal. This is the URL. We have already told you a million times. Go to this portal, log it as a ticket. You would have logged it, but then they would say, no, it's not supposed to be a service request. It's supposed to be an incident. Change it back again. You're overall frustrated with that experience. HR, I have to apply for a leave, log into this Workday or a success factor, and choose the right time of information and log it as an info. Hey, where do I find the latest NDA? Go to the legal portal. Why is an employee whose job is to be productive and getting their day-to-day activities completed has to go through this convoluted experience? So we felt like agentic AI service management could be the core to unlock that productivity blockage. And the whole experience that we are trying to bring is three core pillars of the platform. And that is what the platform is built on. One is what we call as knowledge or concierge agent. Think of it like you're in your day-to-day activity and you're getting stuck with an application. Say you're coding and all of a sudden you feel that, hey, there's an error that I'm getting. What do? Agents or devs today, they quickly go to Stack Exchange or they go to Stack Overflow or they try to go and search for on Reddit and they try to search for it. Nowadays, there is a new concept which is happening, is something called as shadow AI. What they do, they go to ChatGPT, they copy paste something of a proprietary information and say, when I'm trying this application, I'm getting this error. Basically, you're sending a proprietary or a protected information to an open system, which is trying to debug and trying to hallucinate. And proprietary data, 100% you're going to get a hallucinated answer to say, try this, and then it should work. Basically, you're sending your internal data to the cloud and you're trying to, of course, it's a hallucinated answer. Why should an employee be forced to do that? You have your application, it's your own protected information, it's something which is already documented or happened in the past, or probably something a senior knows how to debug. We try to bring that through an agentic experience. Someone who would have answered something like this in the past, someone who had conversed inside your Teams or Slack ecosystem in a similar manner, and of course, your internal application repository or help content. The second pillar is what we call as ITSM agent. This agent knows or understands your employees' NLU-based, it goes through the NLU engine to understand what an employee needs, basically determining whether this is an incident, whether this is a service request, is the employee trying to request a change of certain sort, or are they talking about IT-related questions, are they talking about HR, and so on, finance, legal, anything. And then the third pillar is what we call as automation agent. This agent is very deep into agentic. This agent can understand again through the NLU engine to expect basically, is the user expecting a business service or a business service workflow, or sort of like what we used to do with robotic process automation, but it's now more of agentic process automation, getting access to an application, um, executing some business workflows, or remediating something, or executing some scripts through remote scripting methods, but driven by AI. You would have seen just a couple of months back, Claude from Anthropic, they launched something called as computer use, where I can almost use the AI model to execute an action on my computer, open up a browser, download or go to visit a particular page, download something. Like a typical example in a service management experience would be like, let's say I am facing some issues with my laptop. Probably the laptop keeps crashing, or probably my browser keeps crashing. What do? I go to the IT team and say my browser keeps crashing, or my application keeps crashing. IT would say, log it as a ticket, I'll debug it. They will then probably do a PowerShell. They will try to debug it by looking at your CPU and memory. Why do you have to waste so much time? AI systems are intelligent enough to automatically capture the CPU usage, the memory usage, and give the hint to the user and to the agent or to the service desk agent that this person has 10 tabs open on their Chrome browser, which has almost 500 MB of memory being sucked up. Kill the tab, or kill this particular process. So that's the agentic model that we are bringing. So the agentic experience that we introduce within the platform, the knowledge agent, the ITSM agent, and then of course an automation agent or a workflow agent. I would love to show you guys the product, just a quick run through on how that capability works. And one of the core capability, or I should say the experience in the product or the platform, is it's driven by conversational experience. And today, literally every organization has moved to 4 core conversational platforms. Nobody is using even email has still got some significance, but the portal, the self-service portal, it came up as a huge game changer, but it had less adoption. People got frustrated with that whole experience. But conversational platform like Teams or Slack or Zoom Workplace, or even Google Chat has kind of changed the whole way how people interact. Pretty much every enterprise today has Teams as a huge adoption. People have started using Teams. So we live within your Teams or your Slack ecosystem as a conversational model. Again, I would reiterate that it's not a chatbot, it's a conversational engine like a Microsoft Copilot or a ChatGPT or a Claude, but built within a domain specific small language model. What we are talking about earlier was large language model, which tends to hallucinate. What we do is what we call as domain specific small language model. Why? Because it is protected and only meant for your domain or your enterprise or your organization. And it's a small language model. You don't need the whole world data to train your organizational information. You need to know what are the IT policies, what are the different applications you use. Even 14,000 applications that we were talking about for the Blue Cross sheet, uh, um, uh, 14,000 is a small language. It's a small language model which understands only within the purview. So I'll start with the knowledge agent. So I'll start with the basics of like how a day-to-day experience happens within an employee's ecosystem. So let's say I'm a new user. I'm trying to set up my Outlook, and I would like to know how to do that. So I can simply reach out to the knowledge agent, which is what we call as Atom. It's a rebranded or a white labeled product. You can basically call it as anything as you want. Oops, sorry, I'll ask it something else. Apologies. I did not pray to the demo gods well. I suppose, sorry. I'll ask something like this. How do you schedule a meeting in Teams? Maybe I'm new to Microsoft Teams. I don't know how the system works. So Atom can quickly look up your internal knowledge. This is what exactly a service desk agent would do. They would go to your help article. They'll go to SharePoint. They'll copy paste it and so on. Instead, Atom is quickly able to bring up the knowledge, saying click on the calendar icon on the navigation bar, and you will choose, you'll see the option, click on the schedule assistant button, so and so. And every answer has a follow-up or a feedback mechanism. Now, let's say I'm looking to set up something on my Outlook. How do I set up automatic replies on Outlook? Probably I'm going out of office, or I'm going on a holiday, and I would like to know how to do that. I can simply ask Atom, how do I configure an Outlook automatic reply on Outlook? Now, again, it looks up my internal knowledge. And the good thing is Atom is OCR ready, which means if the content has rich image or rich text or something, HTML content, Atom can understand that this is how I should guide the person, click throughs, and so on, even video content. And users can get instant answers. Typically, this would go in as a ticket. Why do you want to include a ticket and waste both the parties' time? Now, going a little bit into the agentic model, requesting access or getting access to certain applications. Sometimes this might need approvals. So typically what do? You ask your people to go to the portal, log it as a service request, someone will approve it, and someone will get back to you. Instead, I'm going to do the same through the Teams experience, but in a more of agentic action. So let's say I need Microsoft 365. A typical user query where a user says, I need access to Microsoft app. Now, what Atom does, Atom looks up your internal device, first of all, configuration, because we also do asset management, and we connect to different MDMs and different asset solutions, which includes Microsoft Intune or Kanjis or the world or Jammer. And we look at your actual entitlement. First, we draw the knowledge graph to say, this is a normal employee. Is this employee even entitled to a certain application? Next step, it says you have to request access. And when we request access, we pretty much bring the entire set of application from the set of tools. Maybe I'll ask it in a different way. That'll be a better option. Sorry. No, sorry about that. Get. I'll ask for a VPN. That's a much better option. That's a much better option. Maybe I need a VPN. Okay. There you go. So this time, what Atom did, it looked up our Intune engine, or I should say the Intune account, and it looked at all the applications that are available or published for a user to have access to. One of those applications is VPN. There are many other applications like Adobe Creative Cloud, or I need 1Password, I need Grammarly, maybe I'm a designer, I need Canva or Adobe Creative Cloud. I could ask anything that I want. Typically, this would go in as a request. Someone will approve, either a manager or the finance head based on the cost, and then someone will have to manually install it, sit and install. But what Atom can do is remotely and silently using your Intune MDM or Jamf or any other system connection can silently install the applications that you need. So in this case, I'm going to log it as a request to say, yes, I need access. Yes, there will be an approval in the background. We always go through an audit process because we want, of course, every user is going to ask for compliance and so. Quickly, just as you can see, I got the request created. I got a message saying, hey, it's waiting for approval. Let me pull up my other window here so as to bring and show the approval process. So I'm logged in as Vijay at Atom Bank. This is my other account. And I got this message saying, hey, Matchsmith is requesting for non-VPN access. Do you approve or decline? If I do approve, automatically Atom can get this installed silently on my laptop. So I'm just going to say yes, go ahead. He is working from home today and done. On the other side, the user will instantly get an update through Atom to say, yes, hey, your manager has approved it, and this goes through. And now during my next sync cycle on Intune, which you can set up to 30 minutes or 1 hour or even 6 hours, Atom will silently install this software on my device. So that's another agentic action. Think of the amount of time and hours you can, I mean, the time and of course the cost you can save in terms of doing these kind of actions on remotely installing software, uninstalling software, and especially during onboarding and offboarding of employees. During offboarding, most of the time, what IT does, they keep a list of all the applications that are installed for a software or for a user, and they have to manually decouple them from Active Directory, Azure, Entra, or through these systems or Okta. Atom can take that ownership and do that. Now, the best thing about Atom is it's the NLU engine is very clear on what is identified as an incident, what is identified as a service request. For example, let's take a typical, and this is where I'll go a little bit into agentic models. So let's say as a user, I'm facing some challenge with my laptop. I have a MacBook, and I'm just going to say my MacBook CPU is spiking often, and I keep getting memory spikes when I open the task manager. Can someone please? So this is typically what an employee goes through day to day. They have an issue with their device. Their devices are spiking up. The CPU is hitting 90%, or probably the memory is hitting like constantly 90%. What Atom can do is go deeper into agentic troubleshooting on those local devices. Now, typically, I'll go ahead and report this as an incident. And if you recall a few minutes back, when Paul was talking about different AI systems, we use multi-model AI. It's multiple LLMs, right? So one of those is Azure, and one of those is Cohere. Cohere is very good in RAG, and this helps us to automatically bring in like the through the NLU engine what the user's context is, what is the intent of the user, because people hate filling forms. They have already told so much information, and again, if we take them to a portal and we ask them to fill like all the category, the subcategory, what are you talking about? It's frustrating. We don't want them to do that. All we want them to do is just say, you know what, you're talking about this incident. I've already drafted it for you. Maybe to make it easier, just associate our asset, because I know that this is the MacBook that you're talking about, and you raise this as an incident. So this time, Atom is going to create this as an incident. And let's take a look what is happening on the other side when this incident gets logged. So here, if you see, I logged it as an incident called 1702. And going back to the agent user interface, just like you have your ticketing help desk or service desk system, this is what the interface for the agent looks like. You can see on the top the MacBook and memory spikes, which was reported by me. It got assigned to the group infrastructure team. Priority is urgent. And all this was done by Atom intelligently. Now, if you see, the request got submitted, and right below it, I see there are some statistics. A few of those statistics talks about top 5 CPU usage and top 5 memory usage. In that, it's by the way, it's added as a private comment. You can see the differentiation, and I'm basically getting some device statistics where it's talking about a few Mac applications which are causing high CPU usage. And I can see one of these Skylight Framework app, Windows Server, is taking 31%. And there is a Google application which is actually taking 11 or 13%. And then there is Postman, which is taking probably 9%. I could now either debug by killing the process using, of course, an autonomous way, or I can take some necessary action by informing the user that, hey, you're running 3 or 4 different Google applications. One of them could be Chrome, which is actually causing the slowness in your laptop. So make sure that you have the latest version or something like that. And on the memory side, I can see there is Google, of course, another Google application, another Microsoft application, Postman. So seeing that both CPU and memory are talking about some common applications like Postman and Google, and of course, maybe it's Microsoft Teams, I can indicate back to the user that, hi, Vijay. And before I send out a very blunt reply like this, again, I can make use of Atom's friendliness to say, hey, make this more friendly. So now Atom quickly looks up and changes my response, and I can quickly send the response back to the user. I could take more agentic action where instead of having the system to give me this information, using this info, I can have the system to take the action directly, kill the process, and so on. So that is one part of semi-autonomous and autonomous model. At the same time, if I want to take more actions, more like proactive action, or probably just go ahead with a simple reboot, I could do that through the system itself. I could say, you know what, go ahead and restart this MacBook Air, so I can probably see if that fixes the issue or so. At the same time, we can introduce more such actions. Like, of course, we have disabled some of these actions because some of our folks were playing around with wiping off devices and erasing the devices, doing some stuff like that. We did not want to do that during a demo environment. So you can take even remote scripting, remediations, and so on. But those are semi-autonomous. Those are not completely driven to the agent level. I mean, like at the agentic level, because sometimes there could be sensitive information which needs to be protected. So that's the capability of using the agentic models. And agentic models can give you more feedback based on the more you try the AI models, where it can look at like what is happening on the devices, what is the user sentiment, being able to fetch what kind of applications are causing those slowness and so on. So the more it understands from the user context, the better it is in giving such answers or better resolutions. Having said that, I'll stop with, I'll show one more use case within the agentic model. In case of incidents which could be having a larger impact today inside the organization, and please keep me honest if there is a feedback which is possible, users, when they face a challenge or something which is causing a disruption in their service, they start bombarding the entire engineering or service desk team with constant messages that, hey, this is not working, this is broken, I'm not able to access the system. So I'm going to simulate something like that, where let's say users face certain challenges within OneDrive. So as you can see here, few of the users are already complaining about OneDrive facing some issue. Typically, what would happen whenever such things or such incidents happen, service desk would look at the number of occurrences. How many people have actually reported this sort of incident? They will go through each and every one of those incidents. They'll probably search for the information, who is talking about, what is the context of it. They'll go through each and every single one of those incidents, and they will try to debug that incident to find out what is the root cause. Now, what Atom does, by the way, whenever certain similar incidents happen during the span of say X minutes or 30 minutes or 15 minutes, Atom can give signals, taking it out from this noise that is coming in the system and send the signal to certain members. It could be an administrator, it could be say a set of team leaders or the group leaders and so on, and give them indication that in the span of X minutes, so many people have kind of reported that things are not working, or a particular application is down, or a particular application is having some issue, and so on. We call it as agentic major incident. And here, if you see in my Teams window, I got a message because I'm one of the workspace admins. Within the span of 3 hours, 24 similar incidents have been detected, something related to OneDrive sync failure. And the moment this workspace admin detects that, yes, there could be some potential serious incident or a high impact, before it even becomes high impact, this person could quickly acknowledge. Now, once the acknowledgement is done, because typically this is what service desk will do, they will go into the IT lead or to the team lead saying like, hey, in the span of 10 minutes, we are seeing 30 incidents all about certain issues or certain alerts or something not working. Now, Atom captures that signal from the noise, decouples the noise, and gives you signal. And once it is done, automatically Atom will create a parent-child incident in the whole ecosystem. So if you see here, there is a parent incident called OneDrive sync fail, and there are 52 child incidents that got attached to it. All these people are talking about OneDrive sync failure. The moment it happens, Atom quickly uses its past incident resolution. It looks at how did we mitigate a similar incident in the past and provides guided step-by-step instruction to the agent who is going to troubleshoot to say, hey, first check your internet connection. Look at the OneDrive, try to disconnect and reconnect it. Look at the local folder and see if you're able to sync. All these are guided steps either you would go to Google or you'd go to Reddit and try to debug it, and you will try to do the same step. But Atom is kind of giving you as a next best action. Try these action. The next phase in terms of agentic is even running those scripts that we talked about through Intune and so on. So now,
Vijay, I just want to be sensitive to time. You can go just a few more minutes.
I'll pause there.
Yeah, thank you.
So with this, I'll pause. But by the way, I just gave a glimpse of what the agentic system does. Atom is a true co-pilot inside the service management ecosystem, being your knowledge agent so that you don't keep bothering people. Atom, and by the way, I did not speak a little bit. I did not speak about the HR side of things as well. We spoke about how AI has to be sensitive. So Atom is aware. It's aware of what is happening. So in case of, let's say I have an HR query. Let's say I got recently married and I would like to enroll my wife to our social to my healthcare plan. Atom understands that I have shared a sensitive info, a social security information, but I have to get my wife enrolled in my healthcare plan inside the company. So Atom can look up your HR service catalog. This time it is about healthcare enrollment. So it's already said that I'm going to mask this data. Basically, you have shared, and it's now pulling up health insurance enrollment. So it has already filled up the information, like what is the dependent information, when do I want to start the coverage, and all I do is just raise this as a request. This now goes to the HR queue. I can have one for marketing, one for finance, legal, get my payslip. I need to download my latest payslip. When is my next paycheck coming? What is the date of can I get my latest W-8 document? All those handled through Atom in a simple, seamless interface. With this, I'll pause. I'll stop my sharing. If there is any other question and answers, I'm happy to take those.
Thank you, Vijay. Really impressive depth. Let's open it to questions here. What do people think about this? No hallucinations. How does it work? Vijay, I'm kind of curious while we're waiting for the questions to pop. How do you guys test it? If I am a large company and buy this, how do I have confidence that the answers being generated are correct and aren't drifting?
So what we do, we look at your, by the way, the LL, that is where multiple LLMs come into play. Each LLM, so that's what I give as an analogy. A buffet. When you go to a buffet, you want to enjoy every delicacy, not just salads and stuff. So what we've done, we've taken Azure OpenAI as a core LLM. We have Cohere. We have taken a small component of NVIDIA's LLM, and there is Meta. So all these LLMs connect and understand the knowledge graph. So in order to avoid hallucination, we have added guardrails to first look at the user. Who is asking the question? Does this user have the correct access to that particular document or not? Am I even connected to a SharePoint? Am I even connected to Confluence? If so, what is the RBAC in that? Do I have the correct ACL? And the knowledge graph actually identifies the chunk of data. And of course, this is all coming from a vector DB. So we take the chunk and we put it in our vector DB and generate the question and answer pair. So if I'm asking a question about what is the leave entitlements, since it's HR data, we have zero hallucination guardrails towards that. It will precisely go to your HR repository, which could be your HR like a Workday or an ADP, or it could be a SuccessFactors or any HRMS. We'll look at we'll traverse the knowledge graph to see, is there any knowledge related to entitlements or leave policies or vacations policy? And only if the answer exists, we will retrieve the answer and provide that info to the user. Otherwise, we'll simply say this knowledge does not exist, so we don't give you hallucinated answers. So the guardrails are built around that.
Great. Thanks, Vijay. Go ahead, JC, and then Lucinda. Go ahead, JC.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Vijay, fantastic presentation. My question is around the ROI from a business standpoint. If it takes, I don't know, one FTE to support 1,000 employees across these different functions, how much of an improvement of that does the agentic platform bring? Is it a factor of 3x, 5x? I'm just curious if you have any data around that.
Sure. So we are actually working on a case study with Zora. So Zora is one of our first enterprise clients for whom we implemented. They are a subscription and billing company. So they onboarded close to 2,000 employees on Atomicwork in 6 weeks. So they moved away from Jira Service Management. The good thing is the AI builds the knowledge graph in terms of what user entitlement is. So everything that you need is already built in your Azure or your Okta infrastructure. So it knows the users, it understands the user hierarchy, it knows your entitlement. So the configuration part is very, very limited. Where we see the agentic AI implementation, and by the way, what Zora is seeing is 65% in self-service deflection, because all the things that were going to agents is being handled by this, they rebranded it as Zoe. So it goes to this Zoe experience. So 65 to 70 is what we are seeing in standard. In terms of ROI, we're seeing 3x in their in the overall return, because they had invested in multiple AI models to buy. They had subscribed to a few other like Google Gemini and stuff. So they are now moving away from that, because they are now using Zoe to bring in those capabilities, like answering those internal questions and so on. So 3x is what we are seeing, and the time to value is within 2 quarters. That's what we are seeing as a typical timeline.
Got it. Thank you.
And by the way, they submitted a very funny video recently. One of the CIO also posted it on LinkedIn. I would love to share that. And one of the good things is, since AI is ready on your service management layer, we had another customer who moved away from ServiceNow to Atomicwork, again within 4 to 6 weeks timeline. Where they are seeing the heavy lifting is in terms of change management, because they were running a lot of internal changes. And most of the time, the internal change planning, like the business impact, if I'm going to run a change on a particular Azure service or a deployment, what is the impact it's going to cause on the connected service? That's the most important part. When you deploy something on a system or a service, it should not break another service. So Atom is kind of guiding them that, hey, who is owning this application or this CMDB? If I do a change, who owns it? What is it running on? What is the connectivity before running the change? On top of that, even giving them the change maintenance window. Hey, what is the next available time slot for a change on Salesforce? Even if I want to add a change, let's say you want to introduce a new field on your Salesforce form, how is that going to affect your API? So running those kind of business impact is really smooth with Atom. Sorry, I think there is another question. Please, Lucinda, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, thank you very much. As you're talking about the work, the issues coming in for the tech support, I was having flashbacks myself to all of my issues. So, but I had just a question on, like, how do you know, I mean, documentation things can change very quickly. So how are you keeping the information up to date? Are you using vector database and constantly refreshing it? Is that like how, because otherwise you can have multiple versions of the truth, you know, the past version and the current version. And, you know, sometimes you need both versions, right? Because it's like somebody has an old machine, right? So how are you kind of managing that?
So it's a great question, and this comes often, because especially in terms of knowledge, how to handle the stale knowledge. So one of the good things with Atom is not only learning from internal knowledge sources, but also learning from agents. Because you would have gone into a public channel and sometimes you would say, hey, let's say someone goes to a public channel on Teams saying VPN is very flaky today, I'm not able to connect. One of your agents will go in and say, you know what, try switching to a secondary gateway. That's learning that Atom does. Atom knows that Lucinda is a service desk engineer or an agent who recently mentioned about switching to a secondary gateway, which is 1.2 something like that. So the next time someone says, I'm having VPN issues, first off, Atom is going to say, here is a link, or here is an article, or here is the answer. Make sure that you have your global protect, blah, blah, blah. But the related answer from conversation, it will link back to the previous conversation to say, Lucinda, 3 months ago, mentioned switch to your secondary gateway. So that's how we keep the knowledge fresh. And we also keep on updating the knowledge in the vector DB, as you said, based on the embeddings. So the embeddings that we have, we look for the recency. Again, the knowledge agent looks at your article and it gives indication to the admins as well that these articles are stale or probably they are not recent.
Okay.
So you
All right.
keep it up.
Thank you very much. Thanks for this presentation.
No.
Wonderful. Well, Vijay, thank you so much for a great presentation. And it's wonderful to hear people have oars in the water with customers with a strong ROI and real use cases. So thank you and congrats. And I know you guys are off to.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thanks, Paul.